Administrator monthly report, June 2023, financial, animal control, code enforcement, engineering, municipal court permits, and then ESD.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll go over the financial reports, answer any questions you have on code enforcement, animal control, and municipal court, and then I'll yield to Chris Chaw for some engineering update. And then Chief, did you want to talk during this period as well? Okay, so I'll go through financials first. If you'll go to the revenues page, see what's in the packet. Revenues are obviously quite healthy still. We are ahead in all categories. What is that, page 12 of your packet? One note that I need to make, we're 75% of the fiscal year is represented in these June financials. So we're again over in most categories and ahead in the sales tax category. One thing to think about as we go through these, some of the healthy revenues result in higher expenses or allocations. So when sales taxes are way up, our Lantana grant, you'll see that in the next pages, will be larger. So it'll be exceeding the budget. When our permits and development fees are really high, there's an offset in inspections and engineering as well. So again, it's not all gravy, if you will. It's just par for the course on operating the business. If you go to the next page, the sales tax, that's our 12-month rolling average. We had that dip that I said we'd watch, and it has come out, and we are continuing a slow and steady increase monthly. All the general fund, all expenditures, we'd like to see 25% or more remaining in these categories. We do not for transfers. Again, that is related to the Lantana Town Center grant. So when you look at the transfer line item, that money's still in our accounts. It's just not allocated here because we have to eventually make that grant payment. Administration, we're running a little hot on some of the expenses. We're not far off. And then we have the one thing that's going to come up at year-end budget. When we rolled in the CLRF funds, the COVID funds, we knew that $112,350 was possible to go to Charter Communications for that project to extend high-speed internet on Bridle Bit. But so through the budget process, we did not create a line item. So the money was sitting there. We didn't have a category to charge it against. So we have $112,350 that we'll have to find a category, create it, and y'all have to amend it at year end. So again, I left that out. It would be in a financial report if I gave you all the detail, but that's why it's in there. It would really throw administration off and give you a false look of what we're doing if I'd thrown it in there. We'd have been way over. If you go to the administration detail, again, contracted services is running hot. We knew that was happening when we made the change to our new engineering firm. And again, with permits high and development fees still being, or inspection still being done until at least a later item in this agenda for Deer Hollow, that category just continues to run hot. Supplies, maintenance, again, we had the rodents that we had to take care of. And then we had AC maintenance that we had to take care of when we lost AC on half the building. So again, those categories run a little hot. That's something through the budget process we might look when we talked about the air conditioning units. If we don't replace, perhaps increase our maintenance line items to make sure we can take care of that without going over budget. Do you have any questions on that section? No. We'll go to the police department. Once again, we'd like to see 25% or more remaining in these categories. Collectively, they still have 34.5% in their budget. Maintenance, again, we had some issues with the vehicles so that one's running hot, but again, not unexpected. And I'll answer any questions you may have on that one as well. Revenues are good. We're managing our expenses, so y'all are in good shape financially. If y'all don't have any questions, I'll turn it over to Chris Chaw. We'll talk really on this section. We've got the other part that is possible for action items on drainage. This is really an update on East Jeter, reconstruction, and Stonewood.
Thank you, Dad. Mayor, Council, thank you. Just a brief update on those. We've finished I guess 90% design, so we've got plans. I I sent them over. I can send y'all a copy. They're getting revised. Our plan is to bid that out in the next week or so. We have to bid for 14 days and we'll open and then award it to a contractor. So work hopefully will begin August or September
To start.
to start construction then. So that will impact traffic flow on Jeter. But I'd expect it to be a 3-month project at most. I guess it depends on what alternative we use. We went ahead and included both cement stabilization as an alternate, with our base bid being the GeoGrid. So unless GeoGrid comes back just prohibitively expensive, we'll know. So
Well, Chris, we've never still seen, the only thing we've seen GeoGrid used for is new construction, correct?
correct.
Okay.
So the big cost will probably be our excavation. They can do it. It can be done in still halves. You're just gonna have kind of a hard saw cut line, probably about a foot excavation where they have the rock on. So you do aggregate and the GeoGrid goes inside the aggregate and then you have your pavement. So in order to prep that, they'll probably clear 12 inches down, 6 inches of aggregate, and then 6 inches of pavement on top. So there is going to be kind of a drop and it will impact traffic, but we have an alternative in there. We'll just, in terms of cost, it's unknown in terms of we know the material cost, but the labor part and what the contractor will do it for is whole nother ballgame.
And again, you talked about the excavations because they have to remove it. They can't just, they're not
Correct.
pulverizing in place. They
Correct.
basically
We're not
get it to new.
pulverizing, we're reconstructing. So there will be excavation, removal of the existing asphalt. We're not just using millings or milling it and using the millings anywhere else.
So are we getting bids for the GeoGrid and just reconstruction or just GeoGrid?
I have it both ways, so we don't have to go back to
Okay.
bid. So like, let's say the prices come back astronomical. What we'll have is an alternate that deducts the line item for the gravel and the GeoGrid and would have like a cement stabilization reconstruction.
Okay.
Now along,
Traditional.
so we can still move forward with the project without going back to the procurement process.
So we just have to decide between the two options.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
If it would, I mean, ideally, it'll be very close, if not more cost effective, but it's just not the use case of it during reconstruction next to an existing road. It's great if you can roll it out on kind of greenfield, put rock on, put asphalt on and go, but it's just, you do have to excavate. You do have to excavate to get it in there. You can't just, yeah.
Think you can have those bids for us by the August meeting?
So I was looking at the calendar. If we can get it this Friday, we could open on Monday. Right before the meeting. I don't know if on the agenda, if you did a discuss, consider an act and left it open without a number amount. Is that something?
We can do that.
Then we could have at least numbers to discuss, consider an act possibly for that meeting.
But we need to know the cost to really decide, correct?
I would think so.
Yeah,
I mean, there's someone I can make reference checks on the contractors in the morning and maybe in the afternoon, the day of. But then I think cost will be the driving factor. That would be the plan if yeah.
And then they approve.
if we can possibly get those by, I mean, if you can, I don't know, how long do the bids stay open? 2 weeks?
we need to do it for 14 days. I
Okay.
like 15 just to be safe in terms of when that first day counts.
And the
So
meeting's in
safer.
3 weeks.
Here, I can work with Ed and Chris and we can have a not to exceed number or something so that again, it can post to the agenda with as much information as possible. And then you could decide at that meeting possibly.
If it can be a discuss, consider an award, just the contract without the number amount, that's something, then we'll know beforehand, but. Okay,
Right, we'll try and do that, Mayor.
we'll try
We'll
that.
do our best.
Okay, thank you.
Chief Vaughn.
Evening, Mayor, Council, how y'all doing? I don't know if y'all get the monthly report. I send this to the mayor. She sends this out, but it's a work in progress. We've been starting on this since I came here in January, and I think it took us a couple months to start development. So we do take feedback. You know, when you look at these, if you see things that you want to see, we try to. We can't provide all information because you have to balance between giving too much information versus not enough. So I don't want a 50-page document, but I do want to give you kind of a snapshot overview for each month. And so June was a busy month for us. It was our busiest month of the year. We had 280 calls, which is about in the last 5 years, that's probably the top 5 busy months we've had. Year to date, we're about 2.5% more calls this year than last year. For the month of June, we're about 5%. So just kind of give you a perspective of, we do continue to see increase in our call volume, but also just it was a really busy month. Fire versus EMS, we did a little bit more fires this year, this last month than usual. Obviously with the grass fires, we're seeing things are starting to dry out. You know, we had a lot of pretty wet early winter, and so a lot of that undergrowth is starting to dry out. And of course, when it catches fire, it's just a little bit more fuel for it. So we've been busy with that. A lot of activities going on in the community. The summer is a great time, and we do a lot of stuff with the kids. We try to do a lot of community events. We've done I don't know if you follow us on Facebook, we've been doing the summer science series. The first one was on the coaster where the kids got to electrocute the hot dogs. And then we did a couple of weeks ago, we did CBS Channel 11 came out and did their weather van, Weather on Wheels, and came out and did a whole thing on weather, which is really cool because most of it, there's about 30, 40 kids and a lot of parents, but there's a lot of firemen, and all the adults are sitting there, and the weather lady was telling and explaining how this works, and it's like you just see oh, that's how it works. Pete never explained it like that, so it was kind of an eye-opening experience hearing it, kind of like telling the story like you're telling a 4th grader, so everybody's really understanding what she's saying. So we got that, and then we've got our last one for the summer is going to be on August 3rd, and it's going to be on snakes. So we have snake handlers coming out. And that's going to be really neat. And we got a lot of excitement on that. A lot of kids wanting to kind of talk about, we do get a lot of snake bites. And so being able to recognize what to do. So it's an opportunity to educate children and just the general public too on running on snakes. So
Are you going to be handling them, Chief?
I'm not. I'll come by there and I'll be at a distance and I can tell you what a copperhead looks like. That's about it. So I did have my just anecdote. My family had our first experience with the copperhead living and so it was a very exciting experience. I was very proud of my wife. She did very well. So, but it was our first experience with that. So July 4th was a huge day for us. We had, I think, a total of 8 parades, a lot of community events. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the community. So a great time. We love the summer. We get to see everybody. And there's nothing better than seeing the community than seeing them at 2 o'clock in the morning when they're having a heart attack. So it's great to be out. And so we enjoy that. As far as some of the operation business going on, we're doing a lot of things. We're tying up the 23 budget. As you know, we had a deficit to overcome. We've been working with all our community leaders and working with them. And I think that's on the agenda for tonight, looking for small grants. And we've been very successful. We are pending some final documentation for the line of credit. We're looking to extend our line of credit, which will balance and close out any deficit for the year. So we're very proud that we're able to accomplish that in a short period of time. So very optimistic we'll get this all done. In terms of the firefighters liability, we're still working on that too. We've got the application, the loan process to basically restructure the debt to purchase Fire Station 513, which is over there between Lantana and Copper Canyon. And that sale of that station, the ESD will purchase it, give the money to AVFD, and that's how we'll end up paying the firefighters. So that's the plan for that. So other than that, just working on next year's budget as well. It doesn't stop. Just like you guys had your work session, we got one coming up too. So we got our appraised values. Those came out. They were certified. Very proud of that. That's unusual for the appraisal district, but very excited about that. So we're working on the same issues you guys are as far as filing and doing your end of year fiscal year stuff. So, but other than that, I'll take any questions.
I'd just like to thank you guys. Unfortunately, we had an incident at my house and y'all did a fantastic job as well as Chief Miller's group out of Denton. Fantastic job.
Yeah, they did great. And it was a unusual incident with the equipment that we ended up calling out for that. And but it was thankfully everything worked out okay. So
hope they never call you again, but
yeah,
y'all did a great job.
yes, thanks.
So thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
And can you talk just a minute about the Saturday night? You're going to be.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. That was on my list. Yes, so Megan's gonna be mad at me because I didn't say it. So Saturday from 4 to 6, we've got a special speaker coming out. Going to talk about community safety threats and basically an active threat kind of thing, where they're going to come out and just talk about community risk and how to recognize, how to handle those situations. So it's free. You can go and you can go to our website, get the information. But yeah, you log in and it's going to be, I think we're going to have some food there too, maybe. I think we're going to have some food there and it's going to be from 4 to 6. It's free. It's going to be at the Argyle High School. We've invited school district, police, fire, anybody's welcome to be there. And so the speaker he's kind of renowned, been across the country, across the world, speaking on it, works with Homeland Security. So he's going to talk about trends and things to look for. So I'm hoping to get some good information out of it. And I think it'll be a good experience.
It's for community leaders. So I would encourage anybody to go that can attend that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be really good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Gilbert,
I think I'm good.
Did he cover- okay.
The agenda item, I think he covered it well. Thank you.
okay, sure. Is that all you had?
Yes, Mayor, that's all we had.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of non-controversial housekeeping items required by law. Items may be removed with a single motion. Items may be removed by the consent agenda by any council member by making such a request prior to the motion and vote on the consent agenda. Number 1, consider approval of June 20th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the June 20th, 2023 Town Council regular meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. Number 2, public hearing to receive public comment and consider amendments to the 2043 Town of Bartonville Comprehensive Plan. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by 5-0. Staff?
Hang on just one second for us, please, while we pull this up.
I think your dad was going to go over just the major changes that they made, I believe.
I'm going to do my best to condense 6 months and a lot of hours into 10 minutes or so, depending on your questions. So again, this was normally this is a 5-year update process for minor revisions and 10 years for major revisions to your comprehensive plan. Step 1 during that process is gather community input. Y'all chose a community survey to gather that information. P&Z worked together on that with council to come up with questions that would really mirror the previous survey as well. So you could check trends and see if everybody was still somewhat on the same mindset as when the previous revision was done. And it also allowed for us to gather some additional information through the comments. Again, cyclists came up frequently. The roads and the traffic came up frequently, as did, again, there was feedback provided on the fireworks ordinance as well. So there was a lot of information gathered. I want to spend a minute or two on this one because everybody always, when the change happens, everybody didn't get the survey. What we did is we sent notices to every address, postcards to every address in Bartonville. It was also pushed out. The survey information was pushed out to all town social media accounts. As we were going through this process, the mayor's monthly articles mentioned the comprehensive plan update and survey beginning in August of 2022. And actually in October, her article had a link to the survey. So again, we do all we can to make sure that we're receiving community input. That people have to be engaged for us to get a good read. And we also had printed copies available at town hall as well for anybody who wanted those. So that's the kind of the process of getting there on step 1, gathering that community input. We analyzed the data, went over that with both council and P&Z. One of the biggest points on that is that 79.49% of respondents like the comprehensive plan as it is. We're not looking for big changes. Other data points, 78.68% of respondents indicated the reason for moving to Bartonville was related to either low density or the rural attributes of the community, whether it's farming or horses or et cetera. And then again, I mentioned 54.82% of respondents favored an ordinance banning the use of fireworks inside of town limits. Step 3, planning and zoning review and edit. P&Z began a detailed review in February. We went over every single section, every single sentence, every single period and semicolon through the entire plan. This is my poor little dirty copy that made the whole run. So again, this is a long process that we're condensing in just a little bit of period of time. Step 4 was a public hearing at planning and zoning. And again, they've recommended approval of this. Step 5, we're here tonight. The biggest updates, baseline analysis, that's section 1. We had to update all of that demographic data because everything ended in 2016 on the last one. We stopped at 2020 with the census data.
Can you shut that door? Andrea, can you shut that door, please, so we can see the rest of the screen? Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
There's not reliable data beyond the census for population projections. So again, we stopped at 2020 on our projections, updated that entire section on the growth of Bartonville and the region as well. You can stop me at any time if you have more detailed questions. I've got my red line here as well. Section 2, goals and objectives. You'll see a theme here where open spaces are referenced, where parks or parks master plans are mentioned, where utility lines are mentioned. Those have been either edited or removed throughout the document because again, both the survey and council direction has been, we're not looking to create a parks department. We're not looking to create an open space plan. Those were still in your comprehensive plan. So those have been removed. What I discovered in Haslett is when you leave those things in, developers will read your comprehensive plan and feel like you're negotiating for something that you're wanting when you really don't want it. And they are confused by the fact that you have adopted it in a comprehensive plan and it's not something you're really looking for. So it can create that conflict. So again, goals and objectives, this one took a long time because we wanted to make sure that we were reflecting in the goals and objectives, those things that council has discussed in many meetings on keeping Bartonville country and maintaining that rural atmosphere. And then of course we came up with when we talked about objective 7.3, identify and preserve endangered species of plant and animals. We really had no mechanism for that. So we just changed that one to preserve Bartonville's natural environment, more comprehensive, a little less. I needed specialists to go out and find out where the endangered species are. So we tried to make those changes that were more practical for the type of government we have here as well. The land use plan, this was updated as well. Very few changes. There were again some open spaces and public spaces references in this section. There were 2 small changes to the map. Rural business was changed to rural services up at Tractor Supply. We had to add that definition into the plan because it was not in your previous plan. And we also, as we have done with the others, specified that that is the only location we anticipate there being this type of zoning is.
I'm just curious, why did y'all change it from rural business to rural services?
We didn't. It was in your old plan that way.
Okay.
I'm just saying we've updated this. Council had done that for Tractor Supply prior to my arrival, and that was not reflected. So now it is in the comprehensive plan. And then also Mr. Wacker over here, the rezone from rural business to RE2, that is reflected in the map as well. Those are the only changes. And again, during the village center, in the village center category, we clarified that park or plaza would be privately owned. Again, it mentions public park or public plaza. Again, that's a connotation that developers and others will read and assume we're looking for open space, that we're going to have a parks department and we're going to maintain that and it's going to be available. Minor changes on the thoroughfare plan. No change to the street designations. I had some minor edits to table 4.1 so that it matched the legend on your thoroughfare plan. And then under the road categories, we reduced everything that was not FM 407 to a maximum speed of 30 miles an hour. So some of those had 40, 45, and they had ranges. Again, consistent with council actions of late. We felt that would be more reflective of what we're looking for going forward on town streets or any streets that were constructed. Implementation, section 5, remove references to shopping centers and constructing utility lines. Again, that's not something we do as the town of Bartonville. We're not chasing new shopping centers. There may be some additional small commercial in the already zoned commercial nodes, but we're not looking for another big shopping center on 407 or anything like that. So I think removing that was appropriate. And again, we don't construct utility lines. We fix roads, we fix drainage. There's some things like that we do, but we do not construct any of the utility lines. So having that in the plan just didn't make any sense. Again, we added a proactive bullet point. Clarify to update intervals. The plan as it was written said you should do a minor update every 5 years and a major update every 5 years. And those were the same. So it's a minor update needs to be done at 5 years and a major update needs to be done every 10. And again, that the ordinance that you will vote on tonight, that if you decide to approve this, Ed has actually changed. And that clarifies that if you look at item 4 under the ordinance, it talks about the intervals and he keeps it at 10 years for the major updates from both planning and zoning and town council for, again, to make sure that those align.
Pat, can we assume that this is a major update?
This is a major update.
Okay, all right. I just wanted.
This isn't a onesie
I want
twosie.
to
This
clarify
was,
where we are in the
Yeah.
5-10 year cycle.
yes, sir. This is a major update.
Okay.
And again, under the implementation, removed parks and open space system because we are not developing a parks and open space system. Linear parkways, we weren't sure what that was. We know what a linear park is. We know what a parkway is. We aren't sure what a linear parkway is. So we just removed any kind of reference that seemed odd. And ultimately, planning and zoning, after months of work, voted 5-0 to approve this recommendation to town council. I will answer any questions you may have.
Going to discuss it in a second. Let me open the public hearing. Is it? Okay. Time being 7:30, we'll open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of approving the comprehensive plan? Would anyone like to speak in opposition? Okay, time being 7:30, again, I'll close the public hearing. Council discussion, questions?
I read through all the changes, the red line. I didn't see anything that was worrisome to me. It all appeared to be fairly consistent with the last survey was done and prior surveys that were done. The only question I had, I just asked about whether we're doing the major or the minor. I'm pretty sure I knew that answer. So I just didn't see anything that stood out to me.
Not a question, but a comment, but you guys did a great job on this. I mean, there's a lot of work.
Thank you. P and Z, you got a great P and Z.
Yes.
Absolutely. E and Z, Ed, y'all did a great job.
Get this by looking over this. This is quite extensive. I mean, there was a lot of information and a lot of time. And I want you to personally know how much and I think the council appreciates your efforts. There was a lot of work that went into this, a lot of thought. You know, I had some of this discussion before, but anyway, I just want to compliment you on your job. Well done. Thank you.
Hours, right?
I didn't put those in the weekly updates. This one is going to be so nice. If y'all happen to approve it tonight, to get it off of my plate.
Yeah, thanks
I've read it
again.
many times.
Thanks for all your work.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Any other questions? You'll have a motion?
We'll make a motion to, let's see. I'll make a motion to approve the CLUP as proposed by Plan and Zone.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Council.
Sure.
Number 3, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the Town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Article 14.02, Exhibit A, Ordinance 361-05, zoning ordinance by amending Chapter 13, General Commercial District, GC, Article 13.2, uses permitted by granting a conditional use permit to authorize a drive-through use on approximately 2-acre site and approving a accompanying site plan. Planning and zoning approved it 5-0 on July 5th meeting. Staff?
Mayor and council, this is a one thing unique, actually, it's not unique. One thing about your ordinances is if there is a change to a site plan and a conditional use permit, it must go all the way back through the process, regardless of how minor that change is, or even if it reduces the intensity on the site. So y'all approved the Whataburger CUP. Oh, I don't even have the date, but I think that's probably right, Keith. I wouldn't challenge you on that. Probably about August of last year. During this interim, Whataburger decided to change the footprint of the site, and that changes the layout, that changes the site plan. So they had to go back all the way through the process. Let me grab something here real quick. I can go through this entire thing, or I can tell you P&Z voted to recommend approval. The changes to the site plan, other than some minor changes to the routing of traffic, the previous plan was at 3,751 square feet. This one's now 3,305. So again, a reduction of about 400 square feet. Total parking count before was 42, or was 50. Now it's 42. The minimum required was 38 and is now 33. So they are still exceeding the minimum by 9 on that. And their stacking is the same. So again, they have the minimum stacking is 5. They have 22 as far as being able to stack the traffic or stack the drive through so it doesn't get out on the 407 or impede. So again, there were minor edits. We did actually run this through ESD, and they asked Whataburger to roll one of the curbs for access for the fire trucks, and they did that. So again, ESD has seen this and they are okay with this design. There's your location. We know this is edge of Blanco and 407. These are all the criteria for evaluation. Y'all have seen all these. Again, I will stop and go over any of these details you would like, but y'all have seen this before. It's very, very much the same as last time. I'm going to skip those. Again, its location on FM 407 and Blanco. There may be some drive-through traffic on Blanco from the Lantana development. But when talking to the planner, there is no reason that anybody not living in Lantana would travel through that community to come to this Whataburger on FM 407. So again, it's one of those discussion points of generating traffic inside the neighborhood, and it's going to be just people from the neighborhood coming to the Whataburger, not a traffic generator that pulls people through.
Ed,
Yes, sir.
Go back.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I can.
the placement of the drive up speakers.
Yes, sir.
Orders, has that shifted a little bit? Because I kind of remember them being a little further into that curve. And it looks like they're directly behind the building now.
We still have the provision of the speaker height, but that does look like perhaps it is ooched.
I think the location's changed maybe 15, 20 feet.
Yeah, we're gonna have the applicant talk in a minute.
Okay.
Yes, we do have Matt Maley here.
Yes, Kim.
I'm trying to get to the very end. It was. There we go. Sorry. Staff and P&Z were recommending the exact same provisions that you had last time for the CUP. That's related to officers on site. I think it was midnight to 4 a.m. Defines peace officer, etc. The menu speakers on the property shall not exceed 2 feet in height and shall be located on the eastern side of the building and positioned in the area car location number 7. Now, that's a good point, Keith. I don't know if I've got that car. I don't think I've got the car load in here. I may have Matt answer that question. But that is a good question because that is more north side of the building as opposed to the east to project that sound away from as much as possible Lantana. So
Yeah,
I'll have, again, that's a good question for the applicant. Because that is still a provision that is proposed and was recommended forward to council is the location of those speakers. And then the trash receptacles at the drive-through locations and no outdoor music is allowed. One thing that is added to the site plan, we missed it last time. All parking area lighting shall be installed and operated such not to reflect or shine on adjacent properties. We just didn't have that. That is now a provision that is proposed as part of this CUP and site plan process. And Matt Maley is here to answer any questions you may have after the public hearing.
I was gonna have the applicant come up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Matt Maley with Pape Dawson Engineers out of Fort Worth office. And as far as the question about the menu board, so I have an overlay that compares the two. Part of the original approval process, it was decided generally Whataburger likes their cars to be at the 5th pickup car in line. I guess from feedback we received, it was moved further back to the 7th car. So I can pass it around. The original is in red, and then the overlay of the new is in green. So you can see it shifts closer to Blanco, but it's still generally, it's facing the same direction in both instances.
So was it on the northeast corner and then moved to the east? Or was it?
Yeah, it did shift slightly.
So it was always pointed towards the golf course. So it was once that was brought up to our attention that was going to be a provision. And so that would be the east side. If it was Whataburger's preference, it would be on the north as you make the turn, but they were willing to.
Didn't shift as much as I thought. I mean, just my recollection was, I thought it was like maybe 20 feet or so, but it doesn't look like
Okay.
it's that much.
Yeah, I think it's still the same. I think what Keith is probably referring to is that we were talking about the site elevation towards the berm that was there, so that
Right.
but yeah, it's still in basically the same place, probably 15-20 foot difference.
And just to remind, red is the old one, green's the
Mhm.
new. And I apologize for not plotting or printing more copies.
All right.
Don't have any other questions for the applicant? Anything else? So you're just making it smaller overall? Okay,
Every couple of years, they'll come out with a new prototype building. And so this one's just smaller footprint, like that said, 450 square feet. Well, thank you.
thank you. Time being 7:41, I'll open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Would anyone like to speak in opposition? Time being 7:41, I'll close the public hearing. Council, anything else? Any other questions or any other discussion regarding the site plan change?
Still the same as before.
As far as the CUP, that nothing's changed relative to the conditions we had.
Other than
last-
adding the lighting provision, there is no change to the CUP part. It's just the site plan that's associated with it.
And the lighting prevent, that's fine adding that. No.
Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve an ordinance amending the Town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Article 1402, Exhibit A, Ordinance 36105, zoning ordinance by amending Chapter 13, General Commercial District, Article 13.2, uses permitted by granting a conditional use permit to authorize a drive-through use on approximately 2-acre site and approving an accompanying site plan.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. Number 4, public hearing to receive public comment and consider an ordinance amending the Town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14. Exhibit A, Article 14.02, Ordinance 361-05, zoning regulations for the Town of Bartonville to change the zoning designation on 2 tracts of land totaling 1 acre, situated in the Keith Survey Abstract 1643A, Tract 4, and Newton Alsop Survey Abstract 0003A, Tract 7 in the Town of Bartonville, Denton, Texas, from agriculture AG to residential to RE2. The tract of land is located on the south side of Frenchtown Road, approximately 330 feet east of the intersection with Dyer Road in Bartonville, Texas. Planning and zoning recommended approval 5-0 on July 5th meeting. This is the Fuller property, by the way. Staff?
Mayor, council, the mayor just hit it. This is part of the Fuller tract that y'all rezoned from ag to RE2 last year. It's located right there with all of the rest of it around. We're not sure why that one didn't get picked up last time by the uncles and the sister, but that's why you're looking at an RE2 designation request. It's consistent with your comprehensive plan, even though the site itself is only an acre, is to make it consistent with all the property that is around that location. Again, this is the zoning ordinance 73122 was previously approved by town council. And again, this is an attempt to what the desire has been, and that has changed a little bit. Missy's here to talk about it if y'all want to ask her questions. Originally, we had looked at a plat that was submitted for 7 2-acre lots. That's where this showed up, because you can't do a 2-acre lot because that was not zoned properly. So that's why she's had to come back through for the zoning. So again, this would make it consistent across and make it possible to have 7 2-acre tracts in the RE2 zone. This is the property. Y'all seen the sign out there on Frenchtown. There is a house on it. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. There's no development agreement. There's been no annexation. This simply will allow it to be consistent all the way across. There's no need for utilities or public schools related to this 1-acre tract. Again, these are our criteria. We load it up so that when anybody wants to read about it in our packet, it's all there. I typically like to answer questions if you've got them, instead of going bullet by bullet and watching y'all go to sleep on me. Planning and Zoning Commission, as Mayor mentioned, voted 5-0 to recommend approval of or to recommend to council approval of this rezone. I'll answer any questions you may have, but the applicant's here.
See, you want to get him? Thank you.
I'm Misty Grau, and I'm at 4109 T-Berry Court, Flower Mound, Texas, and I am the youngest grandchild of the Fuller family. So what questions do you have?
So it's just to make the property whole.
Yes,
Just
ma'am. It's just to make it all consistent. We had no idea I have no idea why my uncles left that out. I actually even called and asked the one remaining living, like, what did you do? And no answer. So we just want it consistent if you could.
It's going to be mostly on the corner there from Frenchtown, around the corner.
It's just my mom's house is all it is, honestly.
To Dyer.
From Dyer to,
Yes, ma'am.
The whole property, yes. Let me go back to the front one because it kind of. How deep are those, Missy? Do you remember? I don't remember how deep the lots are, but yes, it's basically from the corner of Frenchtown, Gibbons, Dove Creek, and it runs to private Dyer.
That's me. So this is my mom's house. So in order for this to be consistent with the rest, we don't know why that was left out, but this to here and this to here is my portion. And my last name is Grau.
thank you.
So thank
Yeah.
you.
Appreciate it. Open, time being 7:47, I'd like to open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak in opposition? Time being 7:47, I'll close the public hearing. Any council discussion?
I have one question, and it mainly is for Ed. This lot's only an acre, and we're recommended to take it to RE2. I just want to make sure that's not going to be problematic for us relative to our comprehensive land use plan of, a 2-acre lot.
It's already an existing lot, and it's not a spot zoning problem because it's making it consistent with the zoning around it. So it's already, it's not a plat situation where we're replatting something.
Okay.
So I don't see a problem here.
Conforming.
And I think you consider it consistent with the anticipated development plan for that property, which is to take everything to 2 acres anyway, so. All right, I just want to make sure we weren't,
To be developed later, if they decide to divide things up a different way, then that'll be when the plating limitations come into play. So the zoning is different, so that's okay.
Any other questions? You have a motion?
Motion to amend the town of Bartonville, the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 14, Exhibit A, Article 14.02, Ordinance 36-1-05, zoning regulations for the town of Bartonville to change the zoning designation on 2-acre tracts of land totaling 1 acre situated in the key survey abstract number 1643A, tract 4 and Newton Allsup survey abstract 0003A, tract 7 in the town of Bartonville, Denton County, Texas, from ag to residential estates to RET.
second,
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Number 5, discuss and consider ordinance amending the town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Article 1.03, Town Council to amend the section 1.03.034, types of meetings and providing an effective date. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor. This was mentioned last time as a future item. Per ordinance, you are not allowed to start your town council meetings, regular town council meetings before 7 PM. And so Ed had done some research, and this was just to give council an option to decide if y'all want to have flexibility there or not.
So anyway, recapping from our discussion, found some language that y'all think y'all liked where you can start at 6:30 on the third Tuesday of the month. And you can change that as needed, putting it in the posted agenda as being changed. So it gives you flexibility.
That way we're not locked into 7 o'clock. If we
Right.
finish early, we can start at 6:30, whatever was.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a motion?
I move that we approve a resolution I move that we approve an ordinance amending the town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Article 1.03, Town Council to amend section 1.03.034, types of meetings and providing an effective date.
Second,
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Number 6, discuss and consider resolution in support of creating an emergency service district 2.
Chief, you got this one? I'll let you have it.
Evening again, Rick Vaughn, Fire Chief, Denton County SD1. As we've discussed before, part of our long-term planning strategies is to take 2 ballot measures to the election in November. And the first one being for the annexation of Lantana into the ESD1. That public hearing will be set by the Board of Commissioners itself. And that's not related to this resolution tonight. This resolution tonight is related to the second election measure, which is to create the ESD number 2. And so the plan for that is that we will take that to a public hearing at the Commissioners Court on August 8th. And this resolution is part of that democratic process. So it's an election, it's voted on by the people, but part of that process is for each of the towns and anyone who has ETJ in our district, they have to consent and acknowledge those petitions. So we've already done this, going out the streets, getting the petitions. Now each of the towns have to do an acknowledgement and consent by resolution or ordinance. And so we take all that to the Commissioners Court on August 8th, and they will set the election then. So, but other than that, I'll take any questions you might have about the resolution itself.
Proving it's just allowing them again to put it on the ballot, basically.
Yes, exactly. It's
Okay.
basically just part of the democratic process to allow the people to vote, and you just consent and acknowledge that, basically what it does.
this is basically to split the firefighting from the EMS.
That is correct. That is correct. And it's not a new trend. It's something that a lot of ESDs do as they grow. Keep in mind, historically, ESDs were created in 1980 and they were designed for rural areas where volunteer fire departments would start and keep them from having to do bake sales and donations to fund their volunteer fire departments. But as ESDs grows, and as you've seen our area and its growth, it's become more of a suburban, urban type area. The level of the taxation that the statute allows, which is only 10 cents, doesn't really give you enough to be able to provide the level of service we need for the jurisdiction we're trying to provide service for. And we also provide EMS, which is not required, but we do that. And I think we do a great job providing that service. So, just long-term sustainability, it's our best option. Questions?
Thank you. Shell, did you want?
I'm going to speak to the next.
Okay, all right. So basically, this is just approving the resolutions, allowing them to put it on the ballot. You have a motion? Or do you want to say something, Clay?
I want to thank the chief on the way he put it, it's a democratic process and we, the citizens, the one needs to make this determination.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to allow ESD 1 to place this item on the general ballot for voters to decide on the creation of ESD number 2 for emergency rescue services.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Council. Number 7, discuss and consider funding agreement for the Emergency Service District 1. Sheldon? I'm sorry, Mr. Gilbert.
That's fine.
Shell.
I go by both. Honorable Mayor, Town Council, thank you for having us tonight. As we've talked about in the past, when we took over last year, in January, come February or March, it was quickly discovered that there was a potential budget deficit for this fiscal year of operations of $2.3 million. So we did some pretty rapid actions to change the retirement system, to no longer participate in the Social Security system, to postpone and eliminate capital expenditures, to do some budget cuts and constraints, to reduce our footprint financially. And we were able to get that down to 1.9 million. And then we've also are in the process of finalizing obtaining $1 million line of credit, which will take care of a good portion of this deficit this year. With the intention of moving long-term into 2025 with the new ESD that you just recognized, as well as Lantana being annexed in and properly paying and all the different things we've discussed in the past. So to reduce that additional 900,000, there's been a series of grants and donations that have been made to the ESD, and tonight is almost the final one that we're going to receive. But Lantana contributed 300,000, Northlake contributed 100,000, Argyle contributed 56,000, Copper Canyon contributed 25,000. I believe you're proposing 20 tonight, if I have that correct. And then we, between revenue and reimbursement, we expect the county to contribute about 340,000. So you add all that together, along with our continued budget reduction strategies, we anticipate that we will align with our revenue and our expenditures for 2023. We do not anticipate coming back in 2024 asking for more. We hope to handle that with our line of credit, and then ultimately with the approval of those two budget or ballot measures we just talked about, from 25 forward, we should be good to go. So I want to thank you for even considering this. You have been super supportive of us as we've untangled this last year, and we are optimistic, and we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we do not hear a train horn. So we're thankful for that. So that's my update. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those for you. And I'm the president of the ESD board. I'm sorry, I didn't give you my capacity here.
Questions for Mr. Gilbert? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any council discussion? Or do we?
We discussed this before, and I think we under the agreement.
Yeah, and there are provisions that we put in there that had to be met, so.
Structured it that way.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'll do a motion. I move that we approve a economic development agreement between the town of Bartonville and ESD #1. Is that sufficient, Ed? Okay.
A second.
Second, all those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Number 8, discuss and consider acceptance of Deer Hollow Ridge subdivision public improvement.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a formality. The town engineer has inspected the subdivision, the public improvements. But our ordinances require that council accept those public improvements before that we actually take possession, if you will, and which also begins the maintenance bond period of 2 years for them to make sure that those improvements stay in the state they are currently. There was some back and forth, and I included that. I know Keith liked that, but you'd asked for that before, and now I've got it finally. The back and forth on their previous inspection, they were short some of the drainage measures. So the town engineer and his firm worked with the developer and came up with a solution that worked. And so again, his recommendation is approval and acceptance of those public improvements, with the understanding that we will be checking certain things because there's some cracking already in some areas close to the seams. And so we'll be monitoring those very closely. Any questions?
Drainage problem coming off those hills up there. What recourse, because we haven't had any rain to test this, what was put in place. And if you look at that, I've got some real concerns about that, some of the soil erosions, once that rain does come, because it will come in time. What are our options at that time? I'm
Talking about that very large hill of,
Deer Hollow. Does Deer Hollow have some big hills in it?
no, well, it has.
Hudson Ranch does. It's behind Marty B's. It's got the huge hills.
I think what Councilmember Sams is talking about is when they filled the pond and as they leveled everything off, there is a very large mound of dirt that has been, it's not a hill, it's man-made. And so, Chris, do we have a provision
So
for
it
that?
will
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, because we haven't had any rain to
Right.
grow vegetation on it, then it will erode.
So if there's significant erosion, it's in it's in the ordinance that it's their responsibility to clean up in the maintenance period of 2 years. So it's enforcing the maintenance bond is really what it comes down to. That's really the mechanism you have in terms of getting somebody out there the next day. It's hard because it's a maintenance period, but in terms of not letting somebody off the hook, if you let them notify them within the maintenance period, you can hold the bond generally beyond the 2 years until they fulfill that obligation. That's the best answer.
So if there is a problem at some point, we can address that. We have a recourse.
And certainly
Within
the
2
maintenance.
years, for sure.
First 2 years.
And that dirt is there primarily for site work. When the homes start building, they had the excess and they didn't want to pay to cart it off and then have to bring it back in. So I imagine within 2 years, that hill will be gone.
I think once the construction is complete, the true test will be at that time, then we'll see what happens.
Yes.
And
I think there's gonna be a problem, but I just want to make sure there's some recourse that we have for the houses, the homes that are gonna be built there, because they're the ones that are gonna suffer from it.
Agricultural property right next door as well. So if that drainage gets stopped up, there can be issues there. We'll watch it.
Chris, did you want to say something? or-
Just
Okay.
within the 2 years, but I think some of that hill specifically, the dirt, those are just, I think it spoils from the site. That'll get used real quick in terms of once this gets approved and lots are sold, they'll use it for grading activities. So you see it go down pretty quickly.
Discussion? No? Do you have a motion?
I move that we accept the Deer Hollow subdivision public improvements plan.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Number 9, discuss and consider approval of street and drainage repair cost estimates in the amount of $96,914.50 in authorization of the town administrator to execute agreement on behalf of the town necessary to complete the work.
I'll have Chris do most of this one, but a little preface is, got a call for on Landfall Circle about some washout and went over there. And again, Chris will talk about it. That drainage structure is in pretty severe shape.
Everybody knows
The
about that
landfall.
on Landfall Circle. Okay.
And you've got the pictures in your packet as well.
Okay.
We also discovered off of basically between Brasher Estates and Badminton, there is a lot of runoff coming from Brasher where we do not have a drainage easement. There is no way for us to make improvements in Brasher Estates to fix the drainage, the runoff that's coming from there. So it ends up on another property in Badminton. And then again, we've got a dip down here in East Jeter Road. That's considering the amount of traffic that goes by there. We think it's probably prudent to fix that fairly quickly before it turns into something else. Chris, you're on.
Okay, so I'll go quickly on the East Jeter. That one, we went out there. It's not a big, looks worse than it is in terms of it's not washed out below there. There's no fines downstream. So that one should just be maybe replacement of 6 to 12 inches around there and new pavement. Very, very minimal. Probably 3 days worth of work. I'm just going to go in order of severity, I guess. The Badminton one, I included, you have a drainage easement that runs along the backside of that property. It goes to about 150 feet on the south side and tapers down to 100 feet. That subdivision, almost the entirety of that subdivision outfalls into the back of that pond. Like Dad said, it runs across a culvert, goes in another culvert. There's no drainage easement, but it's kind of between two lots. Discharges into a fence and then looks like the fence kind of blocks it and starts to spread the flow out. And then there's washout on that back embankment into the pond. So meeting with the homeowner, we went through quite a few options in terms of what we thought first. Riprap, but I threw out first, and that was quickly batted back in terms of maintenance. So we looked at turf reinforcement. And I included all the product submittals, but generally it holds up to 12 feet per second in terms, so pretty high velocity. It should hold the grass in place and provide slope stability during rains and heavy rains. So looked at doing it just a single area. It is cheaper, but it would require cutting a hole in the fence and and that could let trash in. There's not really a great way. So just doing the entire area, I think the cost is laid out. It was $36,576 for that. And then finally, Landfall Circle. There's photos in there. There's 3 large culverts. They are metal. You can see in the photos, the bottoms of them are in not great shape. It's corrugated metal.
Page 3, 24, 25 in your packet.
I'll give you a second to get there.
One of those projects you drive up on and you see a little bit dip in the road and you get down on the side and you're like, oh, I need to call the engineer.
Yeah, it's washed out pretty severely. When you look at that first picture, when you look at the head wall, you can see there's void space underneath there. It pretty much goes a majority of the culvert. We took a tape measure. Looks like it's like 20 inches roughly along there. That's kind of just a matter of time before it gets worse or sinks. So just really 2 options. There's a replacement of the entire culvert, very expensive. And really in terms of cost benefit, probably really on the high side, or what we're thinking is put flowable fill in there, which is a kind of cement slurry. Fills in that void space, hardens, and really can't be washed out. The I guess drawback there is any of the fines above where you put the flowable may wash out, but if you look, our thought is if you look at those pipes, the issues are really limited to the bottom. The rest of the pipe looks good, the sides and the top. So there's less potential for water to wash away soil if the pipe's in place. So, I mean, that's kind of the thinking, at least in terms of underneath there and inside the pipe, we can provide some stability. The head walls also provide protection of washing out up above where there's holes. So thought being fill in the void space with a cement slurry that hardens and provides stability to the structure, thus utilizing the structure, but it's more of a temporary fix. Hopefully it lasts 20 years.
So what was the kind of big picture guess if that whole structure had to be, best guess if that whole structure had to be replaced?
So
We were talking
It's-
$600,000 to $800,000.
yeah, it's probably
So
750,000.
yeah, that's why you're getting
It's the
a,
going rate on large pipe box culverts, plus each one of those head walls is probably 40 to 50,000. So you're at 100.
There's 3 houses past this culvert.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
definitely, we want to fix it, but we're looking at a cost effective
Yeah.
way to try to
Yeah,
get
and you're
there.
talking 100 feet of paving, and then if it washes above the paving, you want concrete there. And it just the cost spiral very quickly when you talk about replacing something of this size. 3 years ago, it would have been like half that cost.
Don't tell us that.
Well,
Which is still a lot of money.
it's still a lot of money though.
thanks for coming up with that option.
Yep, and we've done it in the past on ones. I've had one like 2 years ago. It was kind of railroad ties holding up a trench box. Not very good, really void space in between there. We were able to go all around and it's pretty much sealed it off. As long as your head walls are good and your pipe, it will fill in that space. It will keep the fines of the soil from being washed away, limiting the void space in there.
Any other questions?
I assume, is this going to require a budget amendment?
It will require a year-end budget amendment. We have the council designated street projects, the $1 million we put over there. I would suggest taking it from there because again, this impacts your roads as well. That was one of y'all's discretionary funds. Again, we were looking to spend it on streets, but as we've learned, drainage relates a lot to your streets that I would propose pulling it from there.
I have a question on that 630 badminton.
Yes, sir.
Where's the problem area where that mat would be placed?
So, and I put a rough map in there on the
311.
311, I guess, or
I think it's 311.
it's the 4th page in there. And I included instructions on how to get there more than seeing the backside. So on it, yes. So I believe the name's Wolf. What's the name of that road? Is it Wolf Run or is that's the name of subdivision? Wherever that is Rosebud. So if you look at this,
Oakwood.
Oakwood. Yeah. So if you look right here, there's a culvert that discharges, and in between the 2 lots, there's another culvert. It's basically from there about 100 feet to this.
Now, the south of that piece of property has got a dam.
Correct.
Okay, you're talking about the outlet to the east, to the,
This is the outlet from the subdivision into the first pond, not the outlet of the pond.
Right. We're not doing the north or south outlets of the pond.
so you're looking
How it
up at
comes
the
in.
north side?
It would be the west side of the property, southeast side of the subdivision.
Okay, oh, the blue, yeah, okay, yeah, the blue.
Right here.
Okay,
Okay,
see,
here's where it's coming in and it's right here.
well, see, where it's coming in, if coming from that trailer court, that subdivision up in there, is there not a
This is
way
Brasher.
to put
This
a
is
berm,
Oh.
like an inclined berm there that would?
Well,
flow
We would then be taking it would push it towards structures. Today, it's just a kind of erosive on a bank where it's washing away. I mean, it will erode more over time because as the grass gets washed away, then you have soil that then gets easier to get washed away. So it would be nice to do something in there. The issue is the right of way. There's about 5 feet between the right of way and that 10 feet between the right of way and that culvert. And then it goes into kind of in between houses, but there's 2 lots and there's no drainage easement.
But that was the issue, is we end up having to acquire property that we don't already have, where we probably should have had an easement over the past years, but don't.
See, originally when that pond was built or reclaimed, I should say, there was a berm there. And I think she had that berm taken down in order to put sod so that they can mow, because it was kind of an off balance type hill there that she was having a problem with mowing. And I was just curious, but up until that point, I think that water, when it come off of Brazier Estates and it hit there, it ran down there to where that concrete dam is on the south side.
Think so.
And that wasn't a problem, but I think what's happened is that when that berm was removed so she could mow, that's what's caused the problem.
Right. I mean, that makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
too.
Did I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve street and drainage repair cost estimates amount of $96,914.50 and authorize the town administrator to execute agreements on behalf of the town necessary to complete the work.
A second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. Number 10, discuss and consider scheduling September 5th, 2023 for a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget and scheduling September 19th, 2023 for the adoption of the said budget. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I did finally found my calendar that I was looking for. Again, these are statutory requirements. We do need at that September 19th. That's our last meeting for adoption, and we do need a mayor and supermajority there at that meeting. So we'll have to check with Councilmember Chapman to make sure he's
Okay,
going to be
But
available.
he's here at least for the 19th.
Yes,
Super majority for the 5th and the 19th,
Yeah.
right?
yes, that is
And
correct.
Jim will be here for the 5th.
Okay.
Hopefully Matt too.
Yeah.
Any
Again.
questions or discussion? Do you have a motion?
Consider scheduling the September 5th, 2023 for the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2023-24 budget and scheduling September the 19th, 2023 for the adoption of said budget.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. Number 11, discuss and consider September 19th, 2023 for a public hearing to consider the proposed tax rate.
Council, again, this is a statutory requirement. Ed, I believe, are those the ones that require record vote? So it will not be a show of hands. It will be a roll call vote at that meeting. So again, it's statutorily required, and I think there's 2. I think it's the budget and
The
the.
5th, there's 2, the 5th, and okay.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions? Have a motion?
Motion to move to schedule September 19th, 2023 for the public hearing on the tax rate and for the adoption of said tax rate.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. Number 12, discuss and consider extending the board and commission application deadline to Friday, August 4th, 2023. We had a few people that had not yet applied and they wanted to have a chance to apply, so we.
And I think with the option to put citizens on board to. Use me as your interest on being applications.
Sure.
I agree with Clay, and with the summer and so much vacation and people traveling.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Make a motion that we consider extending the board and commission application deadline to Friday, August 4th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. 13, discuss and consider who will be on the boards and commission interview panel. Gloria and Matt had originally said they want to be on the, I'm sorry, Councilman Chapman, on the panel to interview potential candidates for the boards and commissions.
I think to kind of simplify the process that, with both of their experiences, that we got a mayor pro tem and planning and zoning individual to make that interviewing process, I think it'd be a win-win.
Second? Or a motion first?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay.
Mayor pro tem and Don.
Second.
All in favor? Carries 4-0. Thank you. Closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, the town council will meet and close executive session in accordance with the Texas Government Code number 1, Section 551.071, consultation with town attorney to seek legal advice of its attorney regarding legal issues related to the town's extraterritorial jurisdiction, issues related to the First Ranch development, issues related to and amending the town's development ordinance, and any and all legal issues related thereto. Number 2, Section 551.071, consultation with the town attorney to seek legal advice of its attorney regarding legal issues related to House Bill 2127 and any and all legal issues related thereto. Number 3, Section 551.071, consultation with town attorney to seek legal advice of its attorney regarding legal issues related to the regulation of short-term rentals and any legal issues related thereto. Time being 8:19, we'll adjourn into, we're not in closed session.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I need to recuse myself.
busy to make sure we're there for those supermajorities.
Oh, I do have one question. We talked about this a long time ago, and I know P and Z has had its hands full, but the fence ordinance is,
Ed and I are going to talk about it later this week, aren't we?
okay. I
we
figured
talked about
that
it a
kind of
little-
got put on the back burner for the CLUP.
It did. And again, we're getting ready to circle right back around to that one.
All right.
Okay. Time being 8:59, meetings adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.